Hey, how's it going, everyone? In this video, I want to address a concern on these LED lights from Amazon. Are these cheap lights really worth it? I'm going to do a breakdown analysis on how much you're actually saving if you decide to go with these lights compared to a big box store. And I'll also do some measurements on this thing, caliper wise, to see the thickness of the sheet metal. And also show you some of the stuff that you get with these lights. So the brand that I bought, I'm going to list down below in the description, and I'm going to base all of the prices that I'm listing here as a unit per cost, which means you're only buying one of these if you need to. So I have some math here for you, and if you want to skip this part, that's fine, but I think it's important to highlight how much money you're actually saving if you decide to go with these cheap Amazon LED lights. So to give you guys an idea, the cost per unit for one of these is $5.42 a piece. Okay, so that includes this whole thing that you see here, plus some knockoff Wago connectors, if you want to call them that. So that's this whole thing right here. All right. Home Depot, if you go to Home Depot, at least in my area, the cost for the equivalent of one of these from a big name brand, that's $14.97 for just one. Okay, that's just one unit. All right, so that doesn't include the Wago connector. That doesn't include any of that. Now, if you do the math, and I'm going to lay it out here for you and decide here. If you do the math, then how much you're saving is $9.55. Okay, so there's a $9.55 difference between this and the Home Depot equivalent. So if you buy 12 of these, the cost is going to be $65.04. Okay, now compare that to the other one, the big name brand. That one is going to run you ready for this? $179.64. So if you buy 12 of the big name brands, that's how much you're going to spend. Okay, so if you are looking for 12 of these, then you probably want to know the savings for these. The savings is going to be $114.06. Now the real question though is it actually worth it to go with these little cheapy ones here compared to ones from the big name brand? So we're actually going to take a look at what you get when you purchase one of these. And as you guys know, I test these products out for months, if not years. I have had these installed for a while, and I'll give you my thoughts on them at the end. But first, let's take a look at how these things are built. Alright guys, so when you unbox the lights, this is how they come. Now, I did not include the price of the grommets because, well, we don't really need to do that. You'll have to buy it either way. So the way that these come together is they have a female and a male end for this little 3-prong connector here. And all you have to do is just take this and line up that flat notch. I don't know if you guys saw that, but this thing has a little flat notch right here, okay? This part has a receiving flat notch, so just connect it like so, right? It can only go in one way, like that. Then you take this locking nut and you thread it into place, like so. All right, so now this guy here is connected, and that's not going anywhere. So with the light, you get this little gasket here. Now the gasket is meant to serve as a protective barrier between the outdoor elements, so this can be used outdoors. Now, I have not used it outdoors, so I can't comment on that. I've used them mainly indoors, but I have used one of these in a shower, and it does do what it's supposed to do. I haven't had any issues with moisture going up into the attic. Now, as you guys can tell, these are very powerful springs. As a matter of fact, see, I'm just letting them go, and they just snap right into place with a lot of force. So I have absolutely no problems or any concerns with these springs here. They're going to hold right on the plaster or drywall. Now let's take a look at the sheet metal enclosure, which is where all your wiring is going to go here. As you can see, it has this little toggle switch right there. This little toggle switch is meant to dictate the temperature of the lights. I have mine set to the warmest temperature, which I'll show you in a second. But that's the purpose of this little switch here. Now, it's not wireless, right? So as soon as you put it in there, as soon as you set it to what you want, it's going to stay that way unless you take the light back down and change it, right? So make sure that all of these, before you install them, are on the correct setting there. Now, to open this sheet metal enclosure, there's this little punch right here, so you can go ahead and just pull that up like so with your finger. Now, I already took it out, but I'm going to show you anyway. It comes with these little connectors here, these push pin connectors. So there's 4 entrances to these. So you're already saving some money if you decide to go with these, because you don't have to purchase these. Okay, and they all come with 4. So that's very nice. But here are the wires that come from that sheet metal enclosure, right? So here's the neutral, here is the hot, and then this is the ground. You can see it's already kind of pre-tinned right there. But I'll give you an insight on the enclosure there. So it has these little knockouts here. I'm calling them knockouts, but they're more like cuts, right, for screws. So you can screw this into the wall if you want. And the sheet metal, you know, it doesn't really feel that powerful, but it's also not flimsy either. If we take our calipers, right, let's see the measurements for these guys. So I'm going to measure everything in inches, but I'll convert it everything in metric for you metric folks here. So if I measure the thickness of the sheet metal here, it's about 25 thou, as you can see there. So nothing too fancy there. Right, if I come over here and measure the wire itself, right, that seems to be about 50 thou, right? Again, plus or minus, right, since it's tinned a little bit. This one's also about 50 thou, as you can see right there. And the ground, I mean, I guess I'll do that as well. That's about maybe 45 thou there. If we take a look at the wire here, the white wire, let's just measure the outer diameter of the sheathing there. That is going to be about 170 thou. I'm not sure if it'll capture it there, but that's how thick this wire is. Now, if you want to know the maximum thickness of this part here, I'll take that measurement for you. This is going to be at most about 530 thou. So definitely account for that if you're going to be pushing this up to a certain location. Now the dimensions of the sheet metal box, right, so that's also very important. If you drill into an area or you cut out a hole that's by a beam, you might not be able to fit this. So the dimension of the sheet metal box is about 4 inches, 4 and let's say 13 thou to be exact, right? Just like that. In that direction and in this direction, it is about 2.68, so 2 inches, 680 thou, right? Okay, not bad. And then height-wise, it's going to be 1.35 inches there. Okay, let's go round it up to 1.36. Now, the light itself, so these are the 4-inch lights here, okay? I'm going to go ahead and measure that for you. So this guy here has an approximate diameter, and again, this is strictly approximate, about 5 inches right there, okay, just like that. And the light itself, if I come over here and measure the diameter of that, that is going to be about 3.13 inches. Okay, again, this is all approximate, right? Just to give you an idea. Now, the step, so there is a little step between this and that flat part right there. So that step is going to be, I'm going to measure that very roughly there, about 72 thou there. So there is a little step right here that I'm sure you guys can see. That's the measurement for that, okay? But that is pretty much the light in a nutshell, okay? I've given you all the measurements that I think would be important when you're installing these. So let me show you what these look like actually installed, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on whether these are actually worth it. Alrighty guys, so I switched over to the hand motion now, so I'm no longer on the tripod, but as you guys can see, these are those same lights installed on this particular room. Okay, I just installed them a couple of weeks ago. There's one more right there, as you could see. All right. Now to show you guys, these do work with dimmers. I have a smart dimmer over here from Costco. It's a Fight Electric dimmer. So if I come over here and start pressing the button, you could see they work absolutely no problem. So I'm going to say that these are worth it. I have had these exact same lights installed in my kitchen, which I'll take you over in a second. I've had them installed in my kitchen and in my bathroom, and I have not had any issues with these whatsoever. So let's take a look at the kitchen and see how that works. All right, guys, so these are the lights in the kitchen here, and these are a little bit of a different style, but the company is identical. As you can see, no problems whatsoever. I have had these installed for about 3 years, and I've only had one of them give me an issue, and it's that one all the way right there, okay? I replaced it. It wasn't an issue. It wasn't anything catastrophic. The light just gave out. Not a big deal. But these also work with dimmers. We have dimmers everywhere in this kitchen. But I would say that these lights are absolutely worth it. No problems with them other than that one light, but that's a very small price to pay. So I hope you liked this video. Let me know if you have any questions concerning these lights, and I'll keep doing a couple more of these as we go along. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll keep you updated on these if anything changes. Take care.